Hey everybody, we're back here again with BJJ Fanatics and the newly crowned purple belt, Miss Sunny. So we're going over half guard today. This is a very big topic and a very fun topic for me because I love to play half guard. If you look at our team historically, Tom, Gary, Ricardo, even John, they're all very big half guard players. Before we were famous for leg locks, our team was famous for being half guard players. Now, if you look at my earlier matches from when I was coming up through blue, purple, brown, even early black belt, I was predominantly a half guard player. Sure, I would do leg locks, but I'd enter most of my entries from a half guard, right? And as you saw me progress and start submitting higher and higher level guys, people became more and more afraid of me and would start stalling, okay? You have to understand that there are things you can do to force engagement from the top player when you're bottom half guard, but overall, half guard is more of a reactive guard than a seated guard is. Okay, so for example, if I'm in the bottom half guard, there are things I can do where I can force my partner to engage. I can pull, I can push, I can start to get her off balance. But if the top player doesn't want to engage and just wants to push away from you and she's sprawling her far leg back and she's pushing on your face and you're doing everything you can to just get in under your partner and she's only trying to stall, it's going to be pretty easy for her to stall from here, okay? So understand that if your partner is doing nothing but stalling and you're in half guard, use a seated guard instead, okay? If my partner's stalling from here, it's much easier for me to work from a situation where I'm seated, where now I have the ability to not just pull my partner in, but I can push my partner backwards, I can stab my partner in, I can elevate my partner, I can do all kinds of things, okay? So you saw in my more recent matches, I'm playing a seated guard because people just try to stall against me, where I actually prefer playing half guard. You see my longer matches, no time limit or 30 minutes or what have you. I usually play half guard. My older matches where people would engage before they were afraid, I play half guard. Half guard is actually my preferred guard because I have a game based on my opponent's attacks where I just react to their attacks. I have a reactive game. But in my more recent matches, I've been forced to play a proactive game because my partners just stall against me, right? Whether it's on the knees and they're just hand fighting, or whether it's standing, or I had to develop this entire system to start off balancing my partner by harassing the feet and going in and using ashi and teiwazas to start off balancing my partner, right? So you see now I have more of a proactive game, but not by choice. I'm forced to play a proactive game because all of my competition just moves away from me, right? Which brings me to my next point, which is what everyone shows you is just half guard. Here's a butterfly half guard. Here's a knee shield half guard, low knee shield, high knee shield. What we're going to go over today is the integration of half guards and other guards. Okay, so we're going to go not only over the standard half guard, we're going to go over a butterfly half guard. We're going to go over situations where we use a butterfly and a regular half guard to go into situations where I can elevate my partner and start going into attacks my partner's legs. Or now I'm technically in a supine guard, where I have Ashigarami X guard variations where we can start going into attacks on our partner's legs. We go into situations where we go from various half guards into situations where we forward shift our partners. We go into various sumigeshis from here, where now I'm in a seated guard. So you have to understand that if you want to be good at one, you have to be good at the others. If you want to be good at playing a seated guard, you can't just be in a situation where you're seated and then your partner steps over your knee, forces you down into a half guard, and now you just get crushed from here and you get your guard passed. You have to be able to play adequately from this situation. If you want to be good at a seated or a supine guard, you have to be good at a half guard. If you want to be good at a half guard, you have to be able to have the ability to integrate the seated and the supine guard into the equation to be truly effective from a half guard. You can't just play half guard and only force your partner to play into a half guard game. You have to be able to chain it with sumigeshis, attacks in the legs, and various other attacks. Okay, so what we're going to be looking at today is the integration of half guard, butterfly half guard, seated, and supine guard. All right, so now we're going to look at the John Danaher paradox. I call it the John Danaher paradox because it's something that John's talked about in his half guard DVDs before, and it makes a lot of sense. All right. When speaking about half guard, when I'm a bottom man, I'm looking to play a half guard, okay, as I previously mentioned. When I'm the top player, I'm looking to force my training partner into a bottom half guard. Okay, so it doesn't make sense. If I'm bottom half guard and I want to be here, that should mean she doesn't want to be here, right? But in a half guard situation, there are things that I want to be able to be effective, where if I can get certain grips with my partner, I can be very effective from various situations. And there are positions in half guard where if she gets to certain grips and certain body positions, she can be very effective, okay? So you're in an interesting crossroad here where the bottom person wants to be in a half guard, and a lot of times the top person also wants to pass from half guard. And what's going to determine who is winning this battle from here will be the grips that you have. If my partner can get past my top leg and my top arm and get chest to chest and flatten me out, she's going to be winning a battle from here. But if I can maintain most of the inside position, and I can start to go into my attacks and off balance my partner and get underneath my partner and scoop inside the legs and come up to underhooks and other various attacks, then I'm going to have the advantage from here, okay? So half guard is a situation where depending on what upper body positioning and grips you have, you both have a chance of winning from here. From bottom, a lot of times, I want to go in and I want to play half guard and go into attacks. But that's fine with her because she wants to force me into a half guard, okay, when she's trying to pass. So when you're in a half guard, whoever wins the grip fighting exchanges, as we always talk about, is going to win the battle for top and bottom half guard. If she can fight and use gripping strategies to get past my top arm and get past my top leg and flatten me out, she's going to have a distinct advantage from here. But if I can win the grip fighting battles and she tries to get past my arm or my leg, and from here we can go in and start scooping inside my partner's legs, then I have a distinct advantage, okay? And whoever dominates the gripping exchanges is going to dominate either the sweeps and attacks or the passing from half guard. All right, so just as a general overview of what we're going to be looking at today, we're going to first start with a butterfly half guard, okay? The reason we're starting with a butterfly half guard is because this is a guard that you play when your partner wants to engage and do jiu-jitsu, okay? The great thing about a butterfly half guard is that when your partner goes to push forwards into you, I can easily start to elevate my partner on top of me. If I have a knee shield half guard, for example, I had the ability to start off balancing. We'll talk more about the disadvantages and advantages of each guard as we go along here. But I have the ability to start pulling my partner in, and I can kind of force her to engage more when I play with the knee shield half guard with locked legs. Whereas with the butterfly half guard, I'm really assuming that my partner wants to engage here. So the whole premise of this video is going to be we're initially starting with a partner who wants to do jiu-jitsu and then slowly working our way into a partner who wants to just stall against us and how we can deal with this. So the first line of attacks is going to be our partner's here in a half guard. She wants to engage and she has everything close to me. I can access the upper body, I can access the legs, and we can go into attacks. So our first line of attack is going to be butterfly half guard, going into various leg attacks and going into transitioning into various kinds of ashigaramis and X guards and going into attacks on our partner's legs, okay? Then we'll start to move into a situation where we're in a butterfly half guard and our partner starts to sprawl back and away from us, and we can't get to the far leg and we have to start going upper body, okay? Again, we're always playing the relationship between upper body and lower body attacks. If I go in for the attacks in the lower body and we can get them, perfect. If the lower body sprawls away from us, you always have to remember the upper body is always going to be available. If the upper body pulls away from us, the only way that she can do this is by bringing the knees towards me, and then we can go back again into attacks in the lower body. So if you go into attacks in the lower body and the lower body's not there, the upper body's always there. If you go into attacks in the upper body and it's not there, the lower body's always there, okay? Then we're going to move into a situation where our partner's playing more and more cagey, and I feel like butterfly half guard's not going to be working from here. We're going to move into a knee shield half guard like so. We're now going to start to off balance and pull and push my partner into me. And then of course we're going to go into a knee shield half guard where my partner sprawls leg away from me and I can't get into attacks from here. And then finally we're going to go into what everyone's been asking me about, whether or not it's going to be included, is a deep half guard, okay? Where we go in and we get a full deep half guard, going over both situations where my partner's far knee is down and we're scooping like so, and where my partner's near knee is down where we're scooping like so. Okay, that's going to be the main focus of this instructional today. Butterfly half guard, a knee shield half guard, and then a deep half guard with scorpion lockdown variations. Okay, well, I'm not going to include today is a situation where we're flattened out. I was going to do this originally, and I was going to start to go into attack from here. But then once I actually started planning it, it just got too far into a guard retention series, and I just started to get off track. And what I don't want to do is like put half of the stuff in here and half of the stuff in guard retention, and it gets all messy. I'd rather just put all this information from here into a guard retention instructional. Because of the fact that my partner's winning so much of the upper body inside position, I mean, she has a distinct advantage from here, and she's going to start to look to pass. All right, so when we go over guard retention, I'm going to go over escapes into offense from here. That I was going to include some of them in the half guard, but it's too confusing as a viewer to draw a line between playing offensively from a flattened out half guard and guard retention. All right, so I'm just going to put all this in guard retention. So we're going to start butterfly half guard, attacks on the lower body to the upper body, attacks knee shield half guard, lower body to upper body, and then ways to go into deep half and go into attacks on my partner's legs, my partner's back, and go into just your typical sweeps. Okay. All right. So now let's look at butterfly half guard before we actually go into some technique. Look at the advantages and disadvantages to a butterfly half guard. Okay. Some of the advantages to butterfly half guard is that one, it keeps me completely safe from attacks on my legs. So with a knee shield half guard, my partner goes in, can sit back and start to attack my legs in various ways. With a butterfly half guard, I have the complete inside position with my lower body. So if my partner tries to attack my legs, she can't, and she first has to get a knee inside my foot, where now she can go into attacks. All right, so if you're dealing with a good leg locker, it's permissible to play with a butterfly half guard because it keeps you completely safe from attacks on your partner's legs unless she repommels. Okay. In addition, it gives me the ability to elevate my partner much easier, whether it be from a situation where my partner doesn't have me flattened out, where I can elevate and lift with that butterfly hook, or where my partner has me flattened out, where now from here, well, yes, she does win the battle for lower body or for upper body inside position. I win the battle for lower body inside position. The worst case scenario is if she wins the battle for upper body inside position and my foot's on the outside, she wins the battle for lower body inside position. Now she can easily come in and start to pass me. Okay? So if she's winning the battle for upper body inside position and she gets past all of my defense and she gets past my top knee, she gets past my top arm, and she gets chest to chest and she flattens me out, I can use this butterfly hook to start elevating and start creating Kazushi to off-balance my partner and then go not only into defense, but right into offense. Or I had this butterfly hook in place, and it allows me now in an easy entrance into my partner's legs, where again, my legs are safe. Okay, so that's a great advantage of a butterfly half guard, is that it gives you the ability to completely protect your legs from danger, and it gives you the ability to start elevating your partner from various situations. Whether I elevate my partner from a situation where I have everything that I want and all the inside position, and I can go into elevations, whether it be into my partner's legs, whether it be into sumigeshis, any kind of elevations become much easier when you have a butterfly hook in place. In addition, if she gets past all of my defenses, it's very easy now for me to start going into my own offense from here. While it looks, from a third person point of view, like she's winning because she's chest to chest, and she is winning at the upper body, I'm winning at the lower body. And this makes it easy for me to start going into off balances in various situations and going into my counterattacks. Okay? The great disadvantage of a butterfly half guard is I don't have the ability to pull my partner into me as much. Okay? If I'm playing here and she's playing a cagey game and just sprawling back and away from me, it's going to be hard to elevate my partner from here. Okay? Whereas if I'm going to talk about this in a second. Whereas if I have a knee shield half guard, I can start to pump my legs and pull my partner and move my partner around. If I have a butterfly half guard and she's just concerned with moving away from me, it's kind of hard to get your partner to engage. So while the great advantage is that it allows you to elevate your partner onto you much easier, provided she wants to engage, and it keeps your legs safe, The great disadvantage is that it's hard for you to actually get a hold of a stalling opponent. Okay, if you're playing a butterfly half guard, let's say you're playing with someone who's very good at leg locks, so you don't want to play a knee shield half guard, and you're playing a butterfly half guard, and your partner's just waiting for you to make a mistake and stalling. This is when I recommend just forward shifting and moving to a seated butterfly guard. Okay, so once again, great advantages: your legs are safe, and you have the ability to elevate your partner into various sumigachi and leg entanglements. If your partner does get past your primary defenses, your cross shoulder post and your top leg, you can easily start to create kazushis and off balance your partner. Great disadvantages is that your partner can stall on you, and it's hard for you to start elevating your partner onto you and start getting their weight and center of gravity over yours. Okay. Remember, the key with any elevation is that I start to get my partner's center of gravity up and over mine, or up and over mine. With a butterfly half guard, it's hard for me to do this if she just pushes away and backs her hips up, and now I can't do anything. So I recommend just sitting to a full seated guard and playing from here. Okay, so those are the advantages and disadvantages to a butterfly half guard. Okay, so now a knee shield. One of the great advantages to playing with a knee shield is it makes it easy for us to start off balancing our partner. So if we're in a butterfly half guard and we can't off balance our partner because we don't want her to, or because she won't engage with me, when I play a low knee shield, I can start pumping my legs to and from me to start getting my partner to off balance and get her to engage. If she backs away from me from here, it makes it easy for me to start pulling my knees into my chest and getting her moving towards me. If I have a butterfly half guard and she backs away from me, pulling my knees to my chest has no effect. If I play a low knee shield, when she goes to start backing away, I can start pumping my knees away from me and pulling my knees towards me to start to get her off balance. When she goes to back away heavy, I can always pull my knees to my chest and create some kind of off balance. Okay. If she goes to sprawl her legs back and she unlocks my legs and she crushes my legs down like so, and now she goes to crush my two knees together and she goes to come forwards into me, a high knee shield allows me to recover guard. Okay. I use a high knee shield as an intermediary step where as she goes to start crushing my low knee shield down, I use a high knee shield, going to come forward, I use a high knee shield to start recovering. I don't really play too much with a high knee shield for long amounts of time, without the gi at least. With the gi, you have the ability to grab collar and sleeve grips, which makes it much more effective. But no gi, it's more of an intermediary step to go to a butterfly, half, or a low knee shield. Okay. The reason being, if I have just a high knee shield, I have no ability to really pull my partner into me. If she goes to sprawl back from here, I got to pull my knees into my chest. I can't use this high knee shield for any meaningful way. Okay, so I use the high knee shield as a means of recovering a guard and making sure she doesn't pass my top arm or my top leg when she crushes my two knees together and sprawls her legs back, for example. So from here, if I just try to play with a low knee shield and my two knees are crushed together, it's going to be difficult from here. Okay. Now she goes to come forward, she can start crushing me and getting to underhooks and flattening me out. So I use this high knee shield as an intermediary step. Where she goes to come forwards, I just pull my knee into my chest, and I open up to a high knee shield. Where now, if she goes to come forward and crush me, I have the inside position and I can start framing effectively. And now from here, I make a choice. I either go to a butterfly half guard and I start playing from there, or I go to a low knee shield and I start playing from here. Where now I have the advantage of if my partner backs away from me and starts stalling, I can start pumping my knees to and from me and start getting her off balance. Whereas I don't have that ability with a butterfly half guard. Okay? But the great disadvantage of any knee shield is that one, your legs are exposed, so your partner can sit back into your legs very easily and start attacking you. And two, if she gets past your legs like so, now she's winning the battle for upper body inside position, and you don't have a butterfly hook in place, which means it's going to be very easy for her to start winning the battle for a lower body inside position by inserting a butterfly hook, and now you're losing this battle. Okay? So if she does get past your defenses with your cross shoulder post and your knee shield, you have to now insert a butterfly hook in order to start going into offense in general. Okay, so you have to now fight your way back to an inside butterfly hook to start going into your counter offense and escapes from here. Okay, so the great advantage of a low knee shield and a high knee shield is the fact that if my partner's stalling, I can get her to engage much more readily. Whereas with the butterfly hook, as she goes to stall from here, it's much harder to move her around. If I have a low knee shield and she goes to stall, I can use this across of my legs. I can use across of my legs like so, or now she goes to crush me, and it's hard. She goes to move away from me, and it's hard. She crushes my legs together. Now if I stick with the low knee shield, this is not going to be good from here. So you can start coming forward, getting over my top leg, and crushing me. So I use the high knee shield as an intermediary step. So the advantage of a high knee shield is that as she goes to come forward and get over my top leg, I can bring my knee to my chest and move to a high knee shield to recover and use it as an intermediary step to switch back to a situation where I can lock my legs in a low knee shield, or insert a butterfly hook where now she goes to drive forward, I can elevate her. Okay. So as a recap, main advantages of a butterfly half guard is that I can elevate my partner much easier when she wants to engage. But I can't get a stalling opponent to come forward onto me. In addition, my feet are safe. With any knee shield, my feet aren't safe. My partner can attack my legs at will, number one. But I have the ability, if she's stalling, to pull her forwards into me. Right? So I can deal with the staller much easier from here, but my legs are more exposed. Okay, if you're a good leg locker, you can use this to bait people into attacking your legs, stallers into attacking your legs, and then counterattack. If she gets past my top knee and gets past my defenses, now I'm at a disadvantage, because from here, I don't have a butterfly hook to start with, so now I have to fight back to a butterfly hook before my partner inserts her own butterfly hook and starts winning this battle to pass my guard. Okay? So in general, I recommend, if you're dealing with someone who wants to engage and do jiu-jitsu, I use a butterfly half guard. If you're dealing with a more cagey opponent, like my Kyle Bowen match, for example, if you're dealing with a more cagey opponent who wants to move away from you, I recommend the low knee shield. And if you're dealing with someone who shuts down your low knee shield by crushing your two knees together, I use a high knee shield as an intermediary step to get back to a guard where I can go into attacks. Okay, the thing with a high knee shield is I have no real ability to pull my partner in to me like so, and I have no real ability to elevate my partner. So I basically just use this as a guard retention method to go use it as an intermediary step to move back to a low knee shield or back to a butterfly half guard. Now, let's talk about the inside position battle. Okay, where from here, her ability to pass is contingent upon her ability to steal the inside real estate. Okay, so for example, if she can get chest to chest and flatten me out and get past my primary defenses, my hands and my legs, she dominates now all the upper body inside position. Her shoulders inside mine, her arms inside mine, her chin's inside mine. She's winning the battle for the upper body inside position. If she can win the battle for the lower body inside position by inserting her foot inside, now she's winning this battle 100%. She's winning the battle for the lower body and the upper body inside position. Okay? This makes it easy now for her to start bringing the knee off the floor. Then the knee comes out. And you see this all the time. I hold onto the ankle as long as I can. She passes, and I give one last ditch bridge to go into my recovery. If I recover, great. If not, I get my guard pass. Okay? So she can win the battle. If she wins the battle for the inside position, she's going to win the battle for her passing here. Okay? She can get past my upper body and lower body, flatten me out, win the battle for upper body first, usually, and then the battle for lower body inside position. She's always going to pass my guard. Okay, so my goal is always to win the battle for the inside position. I want to have first my hands inside. We'll talk about framing more in a second, but this is a general theory on inside position. I want to have my limbs inside my partners at all times. Okay, so a hand, an elbow inside the shoulder, a hand inside the bicep, and either a knee inside the hip or a foot inside the thigh. I can interchange these two. I can relinquish my inside foot position for an inside knee position, or an inside knee position for an inside foot position. Both are very good, depending on what you want to do and how your opponent's playing. Okay, but in general, I'm always looking to win the battle for inside position. If she goes to come in and crush me, and I have all the inside position, when she goes to put pressure on me, she can put all of her weight on me. It makes no difference because I'm winning the battle for inside position and I have all the inside real estate. Okay, if you contrast this with a situation where my limbs come away from my body and she comes forward, now she's winning the battle for inside position and she can start to crush me. This is no good. Okay, so when you're thinking about passing from half guard and playing a half guard, just think of the simple battle for inside position. If your partner can win the battle for inside position, upper body, and then eventually lower body, you're going to get beat from here. If you can win the battle for upper body or for inside position, you're going to win from here. Okay? If my partner flattens me out, for example, and she's winning the battle for upper body inside position, the onus is on you now to win the battle for lower body inside position. What I cannot accept is my partner winning the battle for upper body inside position and also getting to a situation where she inserts a butterfly hook and now she's also winning the battle for the lower body inside position. This is 100% unacceptable for any amount of time. If you are losing the battle for upper body inside position, but winning the battle for lower body inside position, you have a very high chance of success here with going into not only defense and recovery, but counter offense, going into an offensive cycle the second you escape. But the second your partner beats you for the upper body battle for inside real estate, and also beats you for the lower body battle of inside real estate, you're losing this battle from here, okay, most of the time. All right? So just in general, I'm always looking to play some kind of battle to win the battle for inside position. Her goal is to take away space and win the battle for inside position, get past my top frame, get past my leg, flatten me out, and then go into all of her passes. So whoever can win the battle for inside position is going to be the person who's successful. If I can win the battle from bottom, I'm going to be able to go into my attacks. If she can win the battle from top, she can be able to go into her passes and her attacks. Okay, this is about denying your partner control for the head. And I can't stress how important this is. When your partner goes to pass your guard, okay, minus passing to north-south. If your partner wants to pass to mount or to side control, your partner needs to make a shift to the head, a cranial shift, where she goes up and she controls your head in some way, whether it be with a crossface and underhook, whether it be with just a crossface, whether it be with the double underhooks. Your partner has to control your head in some fashion, okay? Now, from here, she passes, and because she has control of the head, go ahead, pass. Because she has control of the head, it keeps me pinned in place very effectively. If your partner passes your legs, let's say she de-slices, for example, but she has no control over your head, this is more along the lines of guard retention, but she has no control of your head. When she goes to actually pass my guard, sure, she's past my legs. When she goes to pass my guard, she can't make a cranial shift where she moves up to controlling my head. The cranial shift is from when you go from passing the legs to controlling the head. All right? Now, when she goes to actually pass my guard, it's easy for me to recover. So your whole thing from half guard, one of your main focuses from here, is never allowing your partner to control your head for any amounts of time. We'll talk about this more next when we talk about framing. But when your partner goes to control your head, we're always looking to come in and clear that grip on the head. Whether it be here, whether your partner gets a crossface or a collar tie from here, she goes to start sucking you in and pulling you in and start connecting your hands. I'm always looking to take hands inside and frame inside to free my head. You can never allow your partner to control your head for any amounts of time. Number one, it's exhausting. And number two, it gives your partner an immense amount of control over your entire body when she gets to the head and controls the head. So many times you see people play half guard and someone just takes a collar tie and they just suck their partner in at the head. And now from here, you see people trying to extend away with the power of their neck versus the power of your partner's lat muscle pulling you in. This is no good. You're playing a losing battle from here, and eventually your partner sucks you in and then connects the hands, and now when the hands are locked, now you get sucked in and you start to get flattened out and things start to go south. So whenever I see my partner come in and control my head in any kind of way, I'm always looking to come in and start to clear my head out like so. I do this the very simple act of touching my own head. I put my the ball of my hand right on my eyebrow like so. So I connect right where my hand meets my wrist, right above my eyebrow. And I just plant my fingers on top of my head. My partner goes to pull me in from here. I don't just back away. I lift my right elbow and I pommel my head inside and underneath my partner's collar tie. And now from here, take an inside bicep tie. What I don't want is to clear, and then she goes to a reverse hook like so, and she starts pulling me in, where now from here, she can start to control my head again. So she goes to control my head from any kind of half guard. I don't pull away with her big lat muscle versus just my neck. This is very exhausting. I come and I just touch my own head. As she goes to pull me in, I open up my right elbow and I circle my head through. When she goes to take a reverse or an overback grip, from here we come in and we use an inside bicep tie to clear. I never allow my partner to control my head. So when we're playing half guard and she goes to come in and start controlling my head and she goes to move around from here, I'm always just clearing these grips off and never allowing my partner to go in. And then eventually, as your partner goes to shoot to that head again, we can start pulling our partner in and elevating her and going into off balances. Okay? I cannot stress this enough. If you just do not let your partner control your head, it's going to be much easier for you. Okay? Combine this with the framing we're about to talk about, and everything will become much more clear. You'll have goals of where you're starting to move from here without even having techniques in the bag yet. Okay, now let's talk about framing. When we're framing from a half guard, the most important frame that you can use from a half guard is a cross shoulder post. Okay? Like so. When I use a cross shoulder post, it gives me the ability to dominate my partner's entire shoulder line. So as she goes to drive forwards into me, I dominate my partner's two shoulders, one with the hand, one with the elbow. If you just use a cross shoulder post and you never used it before, your half guard will instantly become twice as hard to pass. Okay? I never use single frames like so, because now, yes, I control my partner's shoulder line, but it takes two of my hands, which means I don't have a hand for offense. And my partner can easily just switch her shoulders and blade her body and pop the hands off, or use her hands to just pommel inside and pop my hands off. So I always use a cross shoulder post like so, with a knee to elbow connection of my top knee and my elbow. So my partner goes to crush me. If I'm using a low knee shield, I don't need to use that connection, because now my knee stops her from moving forward and the cross shoulder post does enough. All right. If I use a high knee shield, for example, now from here, nothing from stopping her hips coming forwards into me, I always have that knee elbow connection. What I don't want is my partner getting the elbow inside, where now she can start to come in and crush me and bring her hips forwards. If I have a low knee shield, there's no danger of her getting her elbow between, because now when she goes to bring her hips forward, the low knee shield stops her. If I have a high knee shield and she gets her elbow in between, now she goes to push forward, her hips come forward, and now she can start to crush me. Same with the butterfly half guard. If I'm playing with a butterfly half guard and she gets her elbow inside, there's no wedge on her hip. So she can come forwards and start to crush me. So when I use a low knee shield and a cross shoulder post, there's no knee elbow connection, because my partner has no ability to bring her hips forwards into me and start crushing me. Okay? When I use a high knee shield or a butterfly half guard, I use a cross shoulder post and a knee elbow connection, like so. So now, when your partner goes to come in and crush you, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. You dominate the inside real estate. Okay? You have a shin inside of her bicep, you have a knee inside of her shoulder, and you have a hand and an elbow inside of her shoulder. In addition, I always use an inside bicep tie. So when your partner goes to come forward and crush you, I use an inside bicep tie like so, and I monitor my partner's hand from pommeling. I don't want it just an inside bicep tie. She pommels inside and captures my head. So I use an active high elbow if she raises her hand, and a low elbow if she lowers her hand. So when she goes to control my head in any way, go ahead, I just pommel my elbow to follow accordingly. And now from here, as she goes to start crushing me, I can support all of her weight. So the most important thing we're looking at is this cross shoulder post from here. Okay, now there's various ways that we can play using this, but just initially, framing from a bottom half guard, we always use a cross shoulder post like so, which allows us to dominate our partner's shoulder line and control distance between my partner's chest and my chest. Okay? If I have nothing and I just have a low knee shield, if she just shucks this by, now she's chest to chest and she's winning. If she shucks my low knee shield by and she goes to come forward, this cross shoulder gives me time to reinsert my legs. If I have a butterfly half guard, and there's no cross shoulder post, she just comes in and she flattens me out. Whereas from here, if she gets past my top knee, this gives me time to reinsert it. As she goes to come forward, that cross shoulder post gives me time to reinsert my knee inside. Okay? Same with the high knee shield. If she shucks my high knee shield by and she gets her elbow inside, from here she steals the inside real estate with her elbow. Now if I have no cross shoulder post, she just leaps forward and gets control of my head. If I have a cross shoulder post, she goes to come forward, this gives me time. Okay? So what this does is it allows me to control distance and gives me time to recover. Okay? Most of the people I compete against are very explosive and they just wait for opportunistic chance situations. They just shoot into their positions. Okay? This will always give me time to deal with that. When my partner goes to crush my knees together, for example, from a knee shield half guard, if I'm here, she just comes forward and she gets over my legs, and now my legs are crushed together. I'm flattened out, and you feel like you're going to lose this battle. Whereas when now I have a cross shoulder post, she sprawls back aggressively, goes to come forward. This cross shoulder and this inside bicep tie give me time to recover my leg into proper position, and you can go into your counterattacks. Okay, I cannot stress this enough. Just playing a cross shoulder post will make you instantly twice as effective when you're playing a bottom half guard. If you are not using a cross shoulder post, you're just an idiot. Okay? When you play from a bottom half guard, you need to use either a cross shoulder or in certain cases a cross lat post. Both of them control your partner's, and this is more for elevations to get underneath your partner. We'll talk about that later. But both of them control your partner's shoulder line. What you can't have is a situation where your partner controls the distance between her chest and yours. Where at any moment, if she just does a simple shuck of the leg and gets by, she shoots in aggressively and she's instantly chest to chest and she can control you from here. Okay? So we're always using a cross shoulder to dominate the shoulder line and an inside biceps to dominate your partner's free hand. So I have a knee elbow connection, I have a cross shoulder post, and I have an inside bicep tie. So when she goes to control the head, even if she gets the head, I can easily pommel the head through, and now we can start playing from here. And now we can start off balancing our partner, going into various elevations and attacks. Okay, but the first thing is you need to frame effectively, so every time you get forced into half guard, your partner doesn't just instantly shoot chest to chest, flatten you out, and pass you. All right, let's talk about the center line shift now. Your attacks are going to be contingent upon where your partner's head is relative to your center line. Okay, so if, for example, you start off with a regular half guard, knee shield, butterfly, what have you, and your partner's coming forward into you. If your partner's head is on my left side, the far side of you guys, if her head is on the left side of my body, like so, most of my attacks will be going in this direction. I'll be elevating her in this direction or taking her in this direction. If she makes a center line shift where her head moves from one side, from my left shoulder to my right shoulder, now most of my attacks will be in the opposite direction. Okay? So if you follow this basic rule and you just take note subconsciously of your partner's head position, all of your attacks will become much easier. You can use this cross shoulder to navigate your partner's head from one side to the other so that you dictate the attacks. If your partner's head comes all the way across, this makes it easy now for me to elevate over to one side, for me to de-lever over to one side, for me to bring my partner's weight over out in this direction. If my partner brings her head out in this direction, now it makes it easy for me to start punching underhooks, for me to start going into shoulder crunches. It makes it easy for me, okay, for me to start going in elevations on my partner's leg on this side and start putting weight on this knee and going into the far leg. And by just following this simple rule, you can start to dictate where your partner's head is, okay? So when she goes to come forward and drive into me, I can use my cross shoulder post and a combination of my butterfly hooks or my knee shields to bring my partner's head out of alignment. Okay, so I push my partner in one direction, I bring her head over. And now I go to scoop in the leg. When she goes to sprawl back and push back into me, and she brings her head across to the other shoulder. Now I guide it across, and now I can use this cross shoulder to start going into follow-up attacks. Okay? So your goal, one of your goals from bottom half guard, is to create constant kazushis where I can move my partner's head from one side to the other with an effective center line shift. Now, she can move her head, like so, from one side to the other, or I can move her head. So when she goes to keep her head right in the middle, so I can't move her anywhere, I can start pulling her in. She goes to sit back and away from me, now I push her out. Now I start to go into scoops in the legs. She goes to push back into me, and then I go in. So I'm playing a pull-push game from side to side, and if you have a low knee shield, back and forth. So we're playing these pull-push games the whole time. Okay, I'm not just static in half guard, where I'm here, she goes to press forward into me, and I'm just like this. Okay, no. The whole time she's playing, I should be hitting kazushis constantly back and forth with this pumping motion, and then using the center line shift to start going into attacks. If I want to go in and start entering into underhooks and attacks my partner's far leg, maybe coming up into my partner, I'm always going to push my partner's head to the inside shoulder. If I want to start elevating my partner into the legs or start going into knee levers, I want to push my partner's head across to the outside shoulder. Okay? But just having this subconscious rule in your head where you base your attacks on what side of your head, what side of your body your partner's head is on, everything becomes much easier. So now we have the cross shoulder post and the ability to force my partner's head to one side of my body or the other with a center line shift. So now when she goes to crush me, it becomes very difficult, and I can move my partner's head from one side to the other and formulate my attack plan based on the position of her head. Okay? With that being said, now we're going to start going into actual moves. I know that was very boring, and it seems like it doesn't matter, but that's the foundation of this half guard series, and it's very important for you as a viewer and a student to understand what we're going to be looking at when we're going into these attacks. Okay, so that's just a basic philosophy around playing a bottom half guard, and we'll go into deep half as a whole nother story. This is just basic butterfly half and knee shield half guard. That's just a basic philosophy around playing an effective half guard, not just immediately getting pushed into half guard and getting your guard passed. Okay, there's nothing worse than, okay, I want to play half guard and thinking about, okay, what moves do I want to hit from a half guard, and then next thing you know, your guard's passed. Okay, you first have to be able to frame effectively, deny your partner control of your head, deny your partner the ability to get chest to chest and just blow right past your half guard before you can start to go into attacks. Okay, and just by following these simple rules with the cross shoulder, constant kazushi, and cranial shifting, this will make it easier for you to initially play from a half guard, get comfortable, and then eventually go into all of your own attacks. All right, so now we're going to start off very basic, moving from a butterfly half guard as I started, as I mentioned before, into a underhook. Okay, so we're going to start off with an initial cross shoulder post, and we're going to start playing from a butterfly hook. Now, we're going to start off assuming my partner wants to engage. Okay, then we're going to progressively get into more of a stalling mindset from the top player. So assuming my partner wants to engage, we're going to always start to play with a butterfly half guard. All right, it gives you the ability to start entering into a lot of attacks in your partner. So she's in here, and we start playing with a butterfly half guard. And we're always playing in a situation like so. If we're playing a butterfly half, we want to have that knee elbow connection for the most part, provided we don't want to start going in and elevating our partner. Okay, so we're going to look to move from a cross shoulder post into a basic underhook. Okay, so my partner's going to be playing here. She'd most likely have her hand off the floor, looking to pressure into me, and we'll just be playing in like so. To move into an underhook, what I want to start to look to do is to pull my partner in towards me. Okay, now if my partner's naive, it'll be easy to just use your left leg, the butterfly hook leg, to pull your partner in like so. Okay, so you notice I can use that butterfly hook and the cross shoulder post to create a center line shift. Right now my partner's head is on my outside shoulder. I can use that butterfly hook to pull my partner over my right shoulder. I do this in a very specific way where I pull my knee over my right shoulder and I close my left knee into my partner's body as I use my cross shoulder to guide her over. Okay, so what this will look like is my partner's coming here, going to crush me. I just elevate my partner out and over to the side. You notice the closing of my left knee takes her knee off the floor. Okay, if I just lift with my left leg over my right shoulder, it has almost no effect. But the combination of the closing of the knee into the hip and the lifting over my right shoulder in sync with the cross shoulder post makes it easy for me to take my partner's head to the opposite side and to take the knee off the floor, like so. So that now I have a knee-elbow connection and I have my knee in my partner's armpit. This from here makes it easy for me to just shoot my elbow up towards the ceiling and place my AC joint, top of my shoulder, on my partner's armpit, like so. Where now from here, I just reach over my partner's back. When she goes to pommel her hand back in, it's not an easy thing to do. What I don't want is for my head to be far and away from my partner where she can take her right hand, post as a reverse crossface, her left hand, post as a reverse crossface, and now from here push away, slide the elbow in, and recover. So when I put an underhook in place, I want to make sure that my head is connected to my partner's. I want to put my forehead on my partner's jaw and ear. So now when she has to pommel her hand in, it's a very, very difficult thing to do. And now from here we can start going into our own attacks where most likely she'll post on her hand, post her hand on the floor, she'll posture up and put a whizzer in, and now we'll be in situations like so. If she doesn't put a whizzer in, then we just take her back, obviously. Okay, but from here, she has a whizzer in, and we can start to go into attacks. Okay. So from a situation where we have a cross shoulder post, and we're in like so, I want to initially start to elevate my partner out and over to the right. Okay. What I don't want is for my partner to keep her head over my shoulder, start to flatten me out, and now if I pommel an underhook in, you feel like it has no effect. All right. What I always want is to first get my partner out in this direction. If you do pommel an underhook in from a situation where your partner's head is on their far shoulder, just know it is possible for you to make use of this underhook by elevating your partner out in this direction, but always know that your partner's head is in such good position, if you try to use this underhook, as you're moving your partner's head out to the side, she'll just pommel her hand back in because your head position is off and not connected to your forehead isn't connected to her ear on this side. So if you go to elevate your partner out to the right and make use of this underhook, she just re-pommels her hand before I can get my head in position, and it just looks like that. Okay? If your partner's white belt, blue belt level, sure, you can use an underhook, but with anybody good, it's going to be hard. So a much more effective way to enter into this underhook is to force your partner into a center line shift and bring your head out and over the right shoulder. So I connect my knee to my partner's rib cage, and I put a butterfly hook in place. My frames are in place, like so. Now from here, I just guide her over with the cross shoulder. I lift and I push everything out and over my right shoulder, and as I close my knee into my partner's rib cage, like so. This will always allow me now to form that knee-elbow connection, to extend and elevate my elbow up towards the ceiling, and then from here reach across to my partner's either far trap, far lat, or far waist, depending on what you want to do. And now I keep my forehead connected to my partner's ear. When she goes to re-pommel from here, it's difficult. Now your partner has no choice. If she stays in this situation, we'll always come out the back. Okay? I'm not even going to bother showing back takes where your partner doesn't have a whizzer because it's not 1994 anymore, and literally everyone's going to put a whizzer on you. Okay? I'm not going to show things that will only work on day one white belts. Okay? I'm not going to be like, okay, well, we're in half guard. Your partner doesn't put a whizzer in, and we shuck by and get to your partner's back. Yes, well, I'll teach back takes where you put your partner in a dilemma, and it forces her to take the whizzer out. But we're never going to assume that the person on top is so dumb they just don't put a whizzer in at all, and you just get to shrug out to the back. Just so you guys know. Okay? So entering into an initial underhook from butterfly half guard, your partner puts a whizzer in and usually postures up, and now she starts to go into attacks where she starts to tries to push in my face and go into re-pommels and things like that. But initially, pommeling the underhook in, we want to look to lift our partner's knee off the floor with our butterfly hook and perform a center line shift. So now from here, as she goes to start crushing me, all I'm going to look to do is lift. So that my head now is underneath her chest. There's no crossface from here, and I have the full inside position. From here, we shoot back into place. She puts a whizzer on, backs away, and now we have an underhook and we're ready to go. Okay, so very specific way to insert an underhook on a talented opponent who's trying not to have the underhook put in and trying to repommel as you put the underhook in. Getting an underhook and keeping an underhook on someone who's very talented. This whole DVD is going to be on someone who knows what they're doing. So now, interestingly enough, we're going to go right into sumigeshis and attacks on the legs. Okay, because again, the format of this instructional is we're going to start by assuming your partner wants to do jiu-jitsu. Okay, that's always what we want. We just want to do jiu-jitsu. In that case, we play a butterfly half guard. And when you play a butterfly half guard is mostly the integration between butterfly half guard and other types of guards, attacking supine, ashigarami, X guards, seated guards, sumigeshi, things like that. Okay, so a lot of this butterfly half guard is going to be using our inside position to get entrances into our partner's legs. Okay, sumigeshis and what have you. So we're going to look at, again, putting in our basic underhook on a talented player and coming in like so. Okay, now from here, my partner's going to be sitting back on the heels and trying to pommel everything inside with the whizzer. What I'm going to look to do from here is hit a basic sumigeshi out to my right side. What I have to first do is move to a position called the power prop, where I come up to my elbow like so and start to build height. Okay, you see this in a lot of situations where I'm playing a half guard and I start to build up to an elbow, whether I have an underhook or I'm using a cross shoulder post. I want to start to gain height or move out to a situation where I'm in the seated guard. Okay, the only way that I can successfully move to a power prop is by first taking my elbow above my shoulder line. What everyone tries to do is to pull the elbow straight back and sit up, like so. Okay, this is basically your ability to pull your elbow backwards with your lat muscle versus your partner's weight and ability to push into you with her head position. So if she puts her head on my far shoulder, then I got to get up by pulling my elbow in. When she goes to push into me, you feel like there's nothing you can do from here. So from the situation, I'm going to look to start moving into a power prop where I take my elbow above my own shoulder line. Now from this situation, I build to an elbow. Even if you have proper head position like you should. And we're in here. If I try to just get up and she pushes into me, you feel like it's impossible. Okay? So what I want is to move to a position where I can come up to an elbow first and build height. Like so. Now, when your partner goes to pommel an underhook in, she can't. The significance of a power prop is that it takes away your partner's ability to pommel her hand underneath your jaw and create space. If I stay down here with an underhook and my partner is smart, she'll always be able to posture up with the head, move away from me, and now pommel a hand in, re-pommel the underhook, and now she's winning this battle. So I have to start to build height with this power prop to follow my partner up like so. Okay? Now, once I'm in a situation where I build height on my partner, when she goes to re-pommel that hand now, she can eventually get the hand in place, go ahead, and start to create space. But the luxury is, because I have an underhook, I can always force my partner's hand to the floor before she goes to pommel the hand in. So every time she goes to lift the hand off the ground, I just use my butterfly hook and my left hand to just shoot everything in the direction of this hand. So as she goes to take the hand off, I can always put the hand on the floor. Go ahead. I can always put the hand on the floor. Okay. Her goal from here is always going to be to take that hand and either one, put it in as a reverse crossface, or two, take a near side underhook and flatten me out. Okay. So I know this hand is coming towards me regardless. She can't just stay here. So from the situation, I'm just going to wait with the power prop and that hand inside. When her hand goes to move towards me, I just catch over my partner's tricep with an inside bicep tie. Okay? So I just play here. I'm playing with the underhook. The second she goes to move this hand towards me, I just catch and I put weight over the elbow. This is a lot easier than you think it is. I put weight in the hand. I'm making her believe that she can't take the hand off the floor. And then when she finally does, I just catch, I put weight over my partner's elbow, and I look to get the head outside of the elbow. This is exactly what we talked about in the seated guard, and this is why it's so important to be able to be good at both playing seated and playing a half guard from here, because they play together so well. So now from here that my partner's head is outside the elbow, when she goes to base, it's impossible. And now while I'm still in half guard, it makes it incredibly easy for me to just lean down to my shoulder, start lifting, and then post my foot on the floor. As she goes to base out with her hand or her head or her leg, it makes no difference. I just keep elevating, and my partner goes over nice and easy. Okay? So again, the integration between of guards here, where we go from an initial butterfly half guard into a basic sumigashi. And off of this basic sumigashi will allow us to enter into a partner's legs in various ways. Okay? So we go into a basic underhook here. We move from here, we play, they get to an underhook. Now the issue is if I stay here for a long amount of time, my partner's just going to posture up, take the hand inside, and create a situation where she can re-pommel. So what I want is I want to come up to a power prop position where from here, I build. The second my partner goes to start taking the hand off the floor, I always put weight towards the hand, and I use that to build up to a base like so. Okay? Now, from the situation, I put weight over the hand, and I just play with good head positioning. Her whole ability to defend from here is contingent upon her ability to beat me with that head position by first pommeling a hand inside. If she can do that, she's going to win. If she can't, I'm going to win. So from here, we just take the hand up and we're in a power prop. When she goes to flatten me from here, she can't because of my elbow positioning. When her hand inevitably comes towards me, we just catch. Now we suck everything in and we put her elbow on the floor, like so. When she goes to base, because of my perfect head position from here, as she goes to base out on the floor, I can always push her forehead to the floor and her head outside the elbow. Now I just point my toes towards the floor. I put my ball of my foot on the floor, and then we use the same mechanics we talked about in the seated guard to just start elevating our partner up and over. They can easily switch from a butterfly half guard to a full open guard and move into sumigashi territory, which will inevitably open up our partner and allow us to enter into our partner's legs. Okay, so just basic sumigashi, and then we'll follow up with more attacks off of that. So now let's look at, off of this basic sumigashi, you're going to at least open your partner up. If you don't sweep them, no problem. You're going to at least get some openings to go into follow-up attacks. Okay, so we looked at our power prop again, bringing the elbow above the shoulder line and then sitting forwards to the elbow. I should have actually probably done the power prop explanation, so I'm just going to add it on here. Again, just coming up to the shoulder line so that your elbow and your shoulder line are on the same axis, and then pulling the shoulders forward to the elbow. So initially, my elbow and my shoulder line on the same axis along the floor, and then I pull my shoulder line up so that now my elbow and my shoulder line on the same axis from floor to ceiling. Okay, this is a power prop. Now we're in a butterfly half guard. We go for that initial sumigashi. Now let's say for whatever reason, your partner pulls the hand out. Okay, this is a very common situation, right? Your partner's head is in such bad position for her that even if she posts a leg out, when she goes to base out from here, she's going to go over. The only way, because of a compromised head position, that she can realistically escape this sumigashi is by taking the hand out before the arm's trapped. So I go to initially grab, like so. I go to lift, and she posts the hand out like so. Whenever I see this, we're going to start to look to go into entrance on our partner's near leg into ashigarami. Okay? So from this situation, what I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to shoot my left leg through, and I'm going to look to bring my right knee to my partner's near hip. Like so. So we enter the near leg. We can enter the near leg, we can enter the far leg. All right now we're going to go enter into the near leg. So as we go to hit a sumigashi, she posts out on the floor like so. From the situation, we're going to look to catch our partner's near leg. A lot of the times, your partner will be sprawling back in order to get her center of gravity far out and away from yours. Whenever I see this, it's no problem. We just move from an underhook to a V grip in our partner's armpit, like so. When she has to sit back and away from us, I just continue to lift up and over my shoulder like so. And now from here, this makes it easy for my knee to come in place. So now, once we're in this situation, it makes it easy now for me to post on my partner's upper body with either a lat post like so, or a V-grip on my partner's tricep. And now I just catch a false grip over my partner's leg, and it makes it very easy now for us to enter into Arimi Ashigarami and go into all of our attacks. Okay, pretty basic, but again, there's some details here we have to look at. So we go for the initial Sumigaeshi. She posts out like so. If I can get to the leg, it makes it pretty easy for me to pull everything in. Okay, so I just grab behind the hamstring and bring my right knee up to my partner's hip, like so. Now from here, I just shoot my left leg through, and now as my partner goes to crush me and grab my head, I can always clear the head with this cross lat post. I'm gonna pull my head in, and just pommel like so. And now, as my partner goes to crush me from here, I can always use that wedge between us with my knee to come in and lock into a Arimi Ashigarami like so. I know this is kind of redundant as far as locking Arimi Ashigarami. We went over this a lot in the Sunpine guard, so I'm not gonna go into deep into the mechanics and the details on locking these Ashigaramis, but I just want to refresh it for you guys who have seen the Sunpine instructional, okay, or the seated guard instructional. Okay, so from here we get an initial underhook. We go Sumigaeshi. She posts out like so. From here, if we can get to the leg and my partner is just continuously going over my right shoulder, it's pretty easy now for me to take a cross lat post, bring my knee in, and just make a basic switch. More than likely, with someone who's talented, they're going to be trying to sprawl and push back away from you to get that center of gravity back on the floor. Whenever I see this, and someone goes to sit back and away from me, if I go to grab the leg from here, my fingertips won't be enough and she'll scoot away from me. So I first have to keep her elevated with these V grips. When she goes to sit back and away, and I switch to a V grip, when she goes to sit back and away from me, it makes it easy for me to lift everything over that right shoulder. And now I just bring my right knee into my partner's hip. Now the big danger is that my partner just high legs out and she's gone. There's nothing stopping her from doing this. So the second I get my knee into position, I have to go down and control my partner's leg. So that was a wedge on top of the leg with my hand and a wedge below the leg with my shin. When she goes to high leg out from here, it's impossible. Her only option now is to push back into me and get her head over mine so I can't enter into the legs. We'll deal with that next. So I take my cross lat frame and I create an angle like so. So that now I can extend my left leg through in this case, and I can bring my two knees around my partner's legs pointing towards the ceiling. So now, if she tries to run away, she exposes her own heel. If she goes to crush me, I can use that wedge with my right knee in between us to go in and enter into my partner's legs with various attacks or sweeps. So we enter into an underhook. We go Sumigaeshi, and our partner faces like so. If I can go in and get to the leg like so, it makes it pretty easy for us to just lift and make a switch. More than likely, this is not going to happen. Your partner is going to be moving out and away from you off the initial Sumigaeshi. So we go from an underhook to a V grip. Keep the whistling. We go underhook to a V grip. We'll always be able to get it. Now she has to sit back and away. I just lift everything over my right shoulder. I bring my knees to my chest. My right knee goes to my partner's hip. I don't want my right knee on my partner's far hip. This is no good. If I shoot my leg through, my knee's on the far hip, she pushes the knee to the floor. Now you're in butterfly half guard on the other side, and you're flattened out. I always put a wedge between ourselves, like so. I put a wedge on my partner's upper body, so when she goes to face me, she can't. And now we can close the circle around our partner's leg, and we can go into an Arimi Ashigarami. Okay, so just entering an Arimi Ashigarami from a half guard. I know I went over this in much more detail in the other instructionals, but I wanted to refresh it. Or if you guys haven't seen the other instructionals, I wanted you to at least get a taste of it in here. Again, the primary focus is a half guard, but from butterfly half guard, obviously you have entrances into the legs, and it's important to go over those as well. All right, so again, not a half guard at all, but the last thing I want is you not buying the other instructionals watching this one, trying this move, and getting crushed. And you'd be like, Gordon sucks. This doesn't work. Okay, so I just want to go over the importance of switching legs when someone goes to crush you. All right, again, just going to touch on this, not going to go into crazy detail, but it's important for you guys to know in case you haven't seen everything else that we've been going over. When I enter into an initial attempted Sumigashi, partner post, we get our partner up like so, and I go to start coming in and getting my legs in place. All right. Let's say, for example, I get an Arimi Ashigarami almost in place, and my partner slides her knee to the floor, like so. And from here, you feel like, okay, well, I try to throw my leg up, but I can't get my leg to my partner's hip. Even if I'm flexible enough, all of her weight's on her leg, and I just feel like I'm losing this battle from here. Okay? I don't want you guys to end up here. Your partner puts an underhook and a crossface, you get crushed, and then you're using Gordon Ryan's half guard system, and you're just getting a guard pass every single time because he didn't show you how to switch legs. Okay? So whenever I see I have an initial Ashigarami in place, and my partner goes to drive her knee to the floor. Whenever I see this, whenever I see this, I know that my partner has weight on one leg and her other leg is weightless. Okay? This makes it easy now for me to switch to the opposite leg. It's so common where I go to enter into an Ashigarami on one leg and people hammer away just trying to get to this leg. You can't look at it like that. You have to look at it as your Ashigarami is an attack on both of your partner's legs depending on where your partner's weight is. So if her weight comes all the way down to a knee, like so, I have to take a cross shoulder, a cross lat post, an inside elbow. I have to look to make a switch where I shoot my left knee into my elbow, and I bring my right knee out and away, and I make a switch to the opposite side where now my Ashigarami is effective on the weightless knee. Okay, I cannot just stick to one leg. So whenever you're elevating into any kind of Ashigarami from a butterfly half guard, whether it's from an underhook, whether it's here, whatever the case is, whenever your partner goes to put a knee on the floor, I need to make sure that I can use a cross frame like so, an inside elbow, and now I take advantage of the weightless leg. The switch. As she goes to bring her knee down, I go cross frame. When she goes to crush me with the cross face and an underhook, she cannot get an underhook, and she can't get control of my head. My inside elbow makes it easy for me to push my partner further than she thought she was going to go. So she's driving the knee to the floor, she thinks her knee is going to land here. As she goes to drive her knee down, her knee actually lands further than she wanted to go. And now from here, I can shoot my left knee to her knee or hip. And now I can make a switch where I go from one Ashigarami on one leg to the same Ashigarami on the second leg. We can switch legs as we go on. Again, completely off topic, but if you're entering into Ashigarami from a half guard, which butterfly half guard, that's one of your main goals, you need to be able to switch legs. And if you want this more in detail, it's in the other instructionals, and it's just redundant for those of you who watched it already. But you have to be able to switch legs when you're entering into Ashigaramis from anywhere, but specifically for this instructional, from a butterfly half guard. Okay, so if your partner puts weight on one leg, just switch to the other one using various frames inside elbow position and making a switch from one leg to the other. All right, so again, off of this initial attempted Sumigashi. We come in, and again, everything starts from your initial Kazushi, okay? Without an initial Kazushi, you pretty much have nothing. If I have an underhook in place, and I'm here, and I'm just trying to off-balance my partner and pull her into me, she knows that if I pull her center of gravity over mine, that I'm going to be winning this battle. So what everyone makes a mistake of is they get an underhook, they try to pull your partner in. She posts a hand out here somewhere, and she sits back towards her hips, and you feel like you can't pull your partner in. Everything starts with a Sumigashi action over the right shoulder, okay? So now, I can get her to start basing out like so. As I go to hit this Sumigashi, what happens a lot of the times is your partner bases the hand out, and she goes to push back into you, okay? As she goes to push back into you, I feel like I'm not going to be able to get a hold of this leg before she gets her knee to the floor. So the previous move we looked at, we get into our partner's legs. She goes to drive her knee to the floor, and we switch to the opposite side. What we're going to look at here is we feel like we go to hit the Sumigashi, and before we can even make an attempt to enter into our partner's near leg, she already is driving back into me. So off the initial Sumigashi attempt, she goes to drive back into me, and from here I just take a V grip in my partner's far armpit this time. So now, as she goes to drive her knee to the floor heavily and force me back into a half guard, I just put a wedge behind my partner's buttocks and tailbone with my right knee. Let's rotate. I cannot stress this enough how important this wedge is here. What I don't want is for me to start pushing my partner out to the left side, and as I do that, she sits her hips back heavy, and I can't get my left knee across to the hip. What I want is to put a V grip in my partner's armpit like so, and put a wedge behind my partner's buttocks. The V grip and the knee position will completely stop your partner from sitting her weight back down and away from you. This ensures that her center of gravity will stay over yours for the time that you need to get your left knee, in this case, to the knee or hip. So when she goes to sit back and away from me, I just guide everything over my left shoulder, pulling the right knee up. As she goes to sit back, we can throw an Ashigarami into place very easily. Okay? So we start this Sumigashi action. So we play from a butterfly half guard. We manage to get an underhook in place. We build to a power cross, and now we play from here. She goes to start pommeling her hand. I pommel in. I go to an initial butterfly, a half butterfly Sumigashi. She posts like so. Now my intention originally was to come down, move to a V grip, and start entering into the near leg. A good player is always going to realize this and realize, okay, well, if I can just flatten this guy out, everything's going to be much easier. So the second I start driving here, everyone realizes that if I can just circle back towards the center line, move my head position in the process, and flatten the guy out, life will become much easier. So I play a simple dilemma game. If your partner stays with their head on my right side, then I make it easily enter into my partner's near leg. But if my partner starts driving into me and performs a center line shift with her head, and she starts trying to flatten me out from here, that makes it easy for me to go to the left side. So the dilemma is based on your partner's head position. So I put a V grip in my partner's armpit, and now as she goes to flatten me out, I just put a wedge behind my partner's tailbone like so. When she goes to cross face me, she's not in position. When she goes to underhook, I have it. When she goes to sit her weight back, she can't. When she goes to crush me or move around, she can't. If she goes to high leg out and spaz away, I have good connection. And now from here, I just elevate everything over my left shoulder, and from the situation, I take my left knee to my partner's hip, I make space, and we throw it in a Rimi Ashigarami. Okay? So, basic dilemma between your partner's head center line shifting. We pommel to an initial underhook, and we get head position. Your partner's goal is always to beat you and get back to proper head position. So if I go to hit a Sumigashi initially from here, and my partner's head stays on this side, she makes it easy for me to enter into the near leg. A good player will make that difficult. So as I get hit the Sumigashi, she goes to drive back towards me, and as she does that, notice I committed to my shoulder. So because I committed to my shoulder, when I go to keep my head position, it makes it easy for her to lift her head, drive back across to my opposite shoulder, and flatten me into bottom position. If I accept this, it's going to be no good. Okay? Ultimately, what she wants, if she's bottom position, she's an underhook, when she goes to hit this Sumigashi, and she gets good head position, if I can post my hand out like so, now as she goes to keep her head position, it's difficult. So as she goes to hit that Sumigashi, I base out, and now if I can run back towards the center line and crush her underhook, when she goes to move me from here now, it's going to be very difficult, and now I can start going into all my passes where I flattened her out. So I take advantage of the fact that I know that she has to move back in towards me. As she does this, I feel like the Sumigashi fails. She brings her head position back to where she wants it, And I just use that pushback reaction where it actually goes to flatten me out, move back into an Arimi Ashigarami on the opposite leg this time. Okay? So again, another entrance into Arimi Ashigarami, this time directly to the far leg, playing a dilemma between the center line shift of your partner's head. If your partner's head stays on the inside shoulder, just continue the Sumigaeshi or enter into the near leg. If your partner pushes back into you to try to flatten you out, take advantage of that and guide her over in the opposite direction and enter into the far leg with an Arimi Ashigarami. Alright, so now we're going to look at an underhook into a cross Ashigarami entrance. Right now you're starting to see the similarities now between a butterfly half guard and just a regular seated open guard. Alright, if I want to go into a cross Ashigarami and a regular seated open guard, and I go for my initial Sumigaeshi off my underhook, which we've looked at in the past, I go in, and I look to go into an elevation. Now notice, this is almost identical to a half guard. I basically fall, in part, from a seated guard before going to a Sumigaeshi into a half guard almost. Okay, so I'm going for a half guard elevation into the legs. It's almost identical mechanics going into the legs from a seated butterfly guard. If I want to go into a seated butterfly guard entrance into the near leg, I enter in. If I want to go into the seated butterfly guard entrance onto the far leg, and my partner goes to push back into me, it's almost identical. So there's so many similarities between a seated guard and a butterfly half guard that it's almost impossible to be good at one without being good at the other. You have to integrate them. So when I go into an initial cross-hachi entrance from a butterfly half guard, I'm going to look to start off-balancing my partner onto one side, and then as I go to off-balance my partner, I realize that I'm losing head position, and I'm just going to start going into my partner's leg. I lost the head position, I lost the ability to control my partner's arm, and the Sumigaeshi's failed. Okay? Now, while yes, I started in a butterfly half guard, it's basically the same entrance as a seated butterfly guard entrance. Okay? So from here, all I'm going to look to do is push off the ball of my right foot and look to move from an underhook to a cross lat frame. Like so. So that now from here, I can get off my hip and onto the point of my right shoulder, and then from here, go into an inversion. The goal is to get my tailbone to point towards my partner's far armpit. So that from this situation, I can just rock my partner forwards, sit my partner down, and have control of both of my partner's legs with a smooth cross-hachi entrance into my partner's near leg rather. Okay? So from the situation, we get to an underhook, butterfly half guard. Okay, we're always looking to get that head position in place. If at any point my partner gets the head position back in place, you're losing this battle every single time. Okay, so it's imperative that we get the head position in place, and we start with an initial kazushi. Okay, most of the time I go to pull my partner in, she goes to back away. So I start with the kazushi over the right shoulder like so. From here, I fall down to my shoulder, and I start elevating myself off of my right foot. Again, we've done this in the seated guard, so I'm not going to spend too much time on it. But we place our foot like so, and we use the inversion of the toes and the right knee to come up onto the point of my right shoulder. And then I can tuck my head. I can move into a situation where I can elevate my partner up and over us. So we go into the initial Sumigaeshi like so. And from here, as we look to start going into an inversion, we switch to a cross lat post. Now our whole thing is to get a situation where we use our cross lat post, our direction hand, to get our tailbone to point towards our partner's far armpit like so. And now I control two legs. Now wherever my partner goes, she sits back, we can take our partner forward. If she runs forwards into me, she gives me the legs. Wherever she goes, as long as I have two legs controlled, I can always enter confidently into a cross-hachi situation and go into attacks. And so again, almost identical to a seated guard. We're playing from a butterfly half. She goes to come in and crush me. Okay, she wants to do jiu-jitsu. She wants to get control of my head. So I just look initially to punch an underhook in place, and then I move to a power prop. I go from my initial Sumigaeshi. Okay, this is almost no different from a full butterfly guard. The only difference is your partner is over your knee, like so. That initial Sumigashi brings me into a situation where I can easily enter into my partner's legs with the cross Hashigurami and go into attacks from there. Alright, let's look at the introduction to the scoop grip from a butterfly half guard. Okay, now there's a variety of things that you can do from here. You can go into the path, you can go into the legs, you can do a bunch of different things from here. Alright, so just keep in mind what I'm about to show you isn't the only thing you can do. We'll go into more use of the scoop grip later. When we go into deep half guard, before we go into scoops, and we can start elevating your partner into deep half. Alright, but when I get to an underhook from a butterfly half guard, like so, okay, when I'm playing with an underhook, there's always going to be times where you start to hit that initial kazushi over your right shoulder, in this case, and you cannot get control of your partner's arm to start that initial Sumigashi action and to get that initial kazushi. There's always going to be times where I'm playing here at good head position, and my partner just doesn't allow me to get to the bicep. So she's pommeling hands. Maybe she grabs my wrist, for example, and she's just playing a really cagey, stally game where I feel like I just can't get any kind of grips on my partner, and I can't get her off balance. Sure, I can get her moving in this direction, but I just can't get control of my partner's hand for whatever reason. We play a simple dilemma game. If we can get to our partner's arm, we always start with the Sumigashi. So if, for example, I can get control of my partner's arm, I'm always going to start with a basic Sumigashi, which may work, may not. If I can get my partner's forehead to the floor, I can hit the Sumigashi. If she posts their hand out, now we go into other options from here. Okay? If I cannot get to my partner's far arm, we play a dilemma and we go to a scoop grip instead. So I'm playing here, I'm trying to get to my partner's arm, I can't do it. If the arm isn't available, I can always scoop inside of my partner's far leg like so. Where now from here, I move from a high underhook, where I'm going for a Sumigashi, down to a low underhook on my partner's waist like so. And now, I take my head and I move my head towards my partner's hips. The last thing I want is for my partner to take her hand, mush it on top of my face, either with a reverse cross face, or she just posts her hand to my face, and just pushes away as hard as she can, and moves out and away. So I always want to take my head in towards my partner's hips, but I want to look in between my partner's legs. So now, as she goes to expose my face to any kind of wedging where she can push it down, it's hard. In addition, I can always put weight towards my partner's hand by just pulling everything over my right shoulder. I just put tension running through my arms and tension running through my legs. I just put weight towards her far arm. When she goes to take that arm off the floor and push, I can always just keep weight on her hand until I make a decision, start going into attacks. Okay? So from the situation, we get to our initial underhook and we play from here. Now from here, I start playing a game where I go for the arm. I feel like I can't get to the arm to start my initial Sumigashi. If I try to go for initial Sumigashi, she posts out, and I'm just going to go in and I'm going to scoop inside my partner's leg. Once we scoop inside the leg, we have a variety of attacks. So we play a dilemma between scooping the leg and controlling the far arm. Alright, so now let's look at using a scoop to enter into a different kind of Sunpan guard, an X guard. We've been looking at a Rimi Hashigurami. Now we're going to have a scoop grip, so we move into it in an X guard on the far leg. So we play this basic dilemma game. We can't get to the far arm, so we scoop inside of our partner's leg like so. Okay. Now again, I don't want my head dangling out here so my partner can look to make space. I bring everything in like so. When my partner goes to move around, free yourself from this situation. It's not an easy thing. All I'm going to look to do is I'm going to look to start elevating my partner over to my left side. Okay. Now you can always do this because of the fact that you have control of your partner's leg. If your partner sprawls this leg away from you, it makes it hard now to get your partner's center of gravity over yours. But because you have control of your partner's leg, when she goes to sprawl away, it's impossible. And that makes it easy for me to start extending my partner and getting over to the side. Now, the big mistake people make when they go to elevate their partner out to the left in this situation is that they just think that it's a tilt from the right hip to the left hip. It's not. I don't just move from my right hip across to my left hip and use my core muscle to take her over. If she sits back on her heels, it's impossible for me to move her from my right hip to my left. Rather, I extend my legs and I create a U shape with the directionality of my legs. So from here, I extend my legs and I use an extension first, and then I pull everything to my chest. Okay? So what it'll look like is she's in here. I feel like I can't just tilt. From the situation, I extend my legs first. Okay? Now from here, as she goes to push back into me, I pull everything to my chest, and we use a slight pumping motion so we can go in a U shape where we extend first and then pull second. So you see my knees come away from my chest and they pull in towards my chest. Okay? If I just try to tilt to my left hip, it feels impossible. So instead, I start extending in towards my partner. As she gives me a strong pushback, I pull everything in on the opposite side. So what it looks like with no partner is I'm here, I push in towards my partner, then I push out, and as she goes to push back into me, I extend and I bring everything in towards my chest. So we form this rocking motion with our legs, as opposed to just me using my core muscle to try to tilt my partner from one side to the other. This is never going to work. So I create a push-pull reaction where I push. As she goes to push in, I extend, and then I pull everything in towards my chest once I'm rocking. Okay? So she gets to sit back heavy on her heels. Okay? From the situation, I play a game where I'm rocking. I play with my partner from here. And then when I feel I have adequate motion, I start elevating my partner up and around. Now from here, we take an upper body post on our partner's tricep or lat muscle, and we use this scoop grip to start elongating her leg out and away. And now from here, we can either throw into an arimi ashigarami, where we make a switch and go over, or we can move into X guard, reverse X guard variations, where we can go into attacks from here. Okay, but just the basic setup to enter into another variation of guards from an initial deep half guard, or from an initial butterfly half guard. So my partner denies me access to the sumigaeshi. I feel like I can't elevate my partner, so I just scoop and go underneath. From here, she goes to sit back and away from me. She tries to get a grip under my jaw to start pushing my head away, and it's always a difficult thing to do. From here, I elevate my partner up, and now from here, we can start going in, feeding our legs through, and going into all of our various attacks we went over from our supine instructional. Okay? So now let's look at a situation where we get to a scoop grip from an underhook, and no matter what, we feel like we cannot pull our partner on top of us, right? So we get to a scoop grip like so, and we feel like our partner is just sitting so far down onto this hip that I feel like it's just impossible to pull my partner up on top of me, okay? Whenever I see this, don't worry about it. You can use one of two grips, all right? They're both very good. The first grip is just we stay with the scoop. Whenever I see this, I'm just going to take my hand and pommel it from an underhook to a cross lat. And now from this situation, I'm going to shoot my right knee, or my left knee rather, across to my partner's opposite hip and knock her back so her hand posts behind her shoulder line. Like so. Now, from this situation, there's a couple of ways that I can go. Your partner has to make a decision here. And she's unfortunately for her stuck in a dilemma. If your partner pushes back into me heavily, like so, she comes onto a cross-ashi entrance where she goes to push forwards into me, like so, and now I can easily invert, get my hamstring again, or get my tailbone point towards my partner's far armpit with my direction hand, and now I can easily set my partner into a cross-ashi garami. Your partner has a second choice. Of simply falling to a hip. If your partner falls to a hip, I just post my hand on the floor. Now she can see to sweep. Now, it looks like there's back exposure here, but because of the wedging, both on top and underneath of your partner's leg, when she goes to take my back, she's actually stuck in place. And now it's very easy for you to come up into a pass, or you can still backstep the leg and go into attacks on your partner's legs. Or you can just come up and start to go into guard passes from here, Or you can just come up if your partner pushes you away. For example, you just come up and now you're in top position ready to pass. Okay? You put your partner into a basic dilemma. You see now it's a series of dilemmas you're causing here. You initially get to an underhook. If you can get to your partner's far bicep, you can go into initial Sumigachi threat, and you can create a weightless legs, where I can get to my partner's arm, and now my partner's legs are weightless, where I can enter into either one of her legs. If you feel like he can't get to the arm, you can always get to his scoop, like so, or you can most of the time get to his scoop, like so. Where now you play a second dilemma game of pushing into your partner. If she pushes back, we enter the far leg by taking your partner over the left shoulder. If your partner sits back and away from you, from the situation, we just move to a cross lat post and a far hip. Okay? So what this will look like in a live situation as I'm in here, I move my knee across to make space as my hand simultaneously pommels to a far lat grip like so. Okay? Now, from the situation, I start pushing my partner back to get her hand posted behind her shoulder line to get a true off balance, like so. Now she has two choices. I start coming up to my knee, like so. When she goes to start coming in and crushing me, and really pushing back into me, go, 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 it makes it easy for me to elevate underneath and get into a cross-hashi entrance. If she decides to capitulate over to her hip and fall down, like so, it makes it easy now for me to come up, backstep the leg, and then play a variety of options from here, including passing, including going into attacks, passing my partner's guard. If you want to really force a tough situation for your partner here, you can use not only a scoop grip, but you can go and you can grab your partner's far shoelaces like so, where your fingers wrap over the sole of your partner's foot. Where now, as I go to push my partner through, it makes it impossible for your partner to step this leg up. Okay, so what I don't want is I go to scoop grip, I go to make a switch, and your partner just explodes up and posts a leg like so. This is no good. It still makes it easy for me to lock into a cross ashigarami, but now she's standing, she's a little bit more mobile, she can stand up or maybe run away from me. It causes a little bit more issues that I can easily take those issues away by grabbing my partner's far shoelaces like so. So now when she goes to explode to her feet, it's not an easy thing. I can always pull her leg in towards me. Okay? It's not the end of the world again if she does stand up. Go ahead. Because I can still enter into my partner's legs, but she's standing now. She's more athletic. She can shoot. She can run away from me maybe. And if she's greased, it can be an issue. Whereas when I have not a scoop, but I grip my partner's far shoelaces, as she goes to explode up from here, it makes it a little bit more difficult. And it gives me more time, go back. It gives me more time to start pushing my partner down like so. Where now from here, if she goes to push into me, I can control my partner with an Achilles, or if she falls over, I just lift at the ankle. Doesn't look like a very strong grip, but a false grip over the front of the ankle will give you control now of the upper leg with your shin and the lower leg with your hand. So when your partner goes to take your back or move around, go ahead, just move around. It's a very hard thing to do from here. And now from here I have various entrances into my partner's legs that I can attack. Okay? So we use a scoop grip this time. This time you feel like you can't elevate your partner into an X guard on the opposite side because she's just sagging your weight down so far and away from you. That's fine. Just go the opposite way. Push her to her hip, and then if she pushes back into you, you play another dilemma game between entering cross-hashi or coming up on top. Okay, so this time another option we have when we have a scoop with an inside leg butterfly hook is they go to an underhook and we scoop like so. From the situation, we're going to go from an underhook and we're going to make a transition to, again, a cross lat post. Okay? Now, just understand, you don't need to have an underhook in order to hit this move. All right? If you can just be playing a butterfly half guard and scoop inside your partner's far leg, then you can immediately go into all of these attacks. Okay, I'm just basing this on the premise that we first come in, our partner trying to move into us. She's being relatively intelligent, and a lot of the times, every time you go to scoop into the far leg, she just shoots the leg back and away, and she blocks you with the hand, and now you feel like you can't go into a scoop. All right, one of the big problems is as I go, because this hand monitors my partner's inside bicep tie. Okay, well, the big problem is as I go for the scoop, my partner posts the hand by my face, so it's not a true cross face, but it's just a post on the floor. So I go to reach for my partner's leg as a scoop, my head runs into my partner's arm, and now she goes to sprawl away from me. I can't bring my head towards the leg, and I can't get to the leg. Okay, but by all means, if you're playing with someone where you can just go in and get to a scoop grip, you can easily go for all of these moves. Okay, you can also move into a scoop grip by using the same initial off balance and the center line shift that we did for the underhook. So if I go to off balance and get to an underhook, and I move my partner's hand out, I can get my partner to post their hand out on the floor and move to that same scoop grip. Okay, so just know you don't need an underhook to do this. I'm just doing it off the underhook. Okay, so we initially start with the underhook like so. We move into a scoop grip off our initial sumigation. Okay, or we get into a position, where we're just playing here. Our partner goes to drive into us. We go to move our partner's body out like so, and we get her to post their hand. And now from here, we just go right into a scoop grip. This is also a fine entry as well. Okay, just know it's a lot easier to go to a scoop grip on a very talented opponent by first going to an underhook, then going to a scoop grip. Okay, especially someone who's trying to stall on you. All right, so we get to a scoop grip, and we get to a cross lat like so. From this situation, we're going to bring our knee across to our partner's far hip. Okay, now it looks like your partner can crush you from here because your knees are starting to come together, but she can't. The cross lat post will dominate your partner's shoulder line, and you will always be able to make even the strongest of players post the hand behind the shoulder line by just extending your legs and your knee towards your partner's hip, like so. From the situation, I'm just going to take my hands out to the floor and take my leg through like so. Now, your partner has two choices. Your partner can stay in this situation, or your partner can push back into you. If your partner chooses most of the time to push back into you, she'll always make space between your heel and her butt. Okay, what she wants is to start building height to come up and coming towards me. When I see this right now, my right hand is relatively stuck. I start pushing into my partner. As she goes to drive into me, I make a switch where my left hand goes through, and from here, I catch my partner's far leg. Now, from the situation, as she goes to drive into me, I just look between my legs, I roll through, and now we can lock across Hashigurami on our partner and set our partner down nice and easy for the win. Okay? So our first option is we enter into an underhook, like so, or we use the initial underhook off balance to get into a scoop grip. We're applying here, we scoop our partner's leg. Okay? From the situation, we go cross lat, and we put our partner's hand down to the floor. Now, from here, I'm going to look to spin around my partner's leg. So from the situation, I just take my knee down to the floor, my hand comes out, and I put my leg on the floor like so. My head goes from looking outside the legs to center. Now, it's all happening very quickly. If she goes to push back into me, I make a switch, 1, 2, and I control my partner's legs. What I don't want is to look outside my partner's legs and go to roll. Okay, as I do this, good, just go follow me. As I do this, I'll end an outside Hashigurami, and because I don't have an Achilles grip, my partner can start to chase my back. This is no good. So I'm not going to say it can't work, but it's more inherently dangerous to look to the outside, and you end up with a less appealing leg position. So I have to control both of my partner's legs. This is what saves me from getting my back taken. If I have my hands here, she goes to take my back, and she can easily gain position. When I have control of both of my partner's legs, when she goes to chase my back now, it's difficult. All right, now I look towards my partner's legs, in between my partner's two legs, with the goal in mind of getting my head past her knee line. Okay? I want my head to be in between my partner's two knees. Like so. Now, when she goes to chase my back from here and she goes to dive forward towards my back, the control of both of her legs will easily allow me to follow her through and lock into a cross ashigarami. Okay? So once again, first method is I use a butterfly half to either one, move to an underhook, build to a power prop, and then go into a scoop. Or two, I play in here. I just use the same underhook off balance, but instead of punching an underhook in, I punch a scoop grip in. Now my partner goes to sit back and away, and I punch a cross lat. From the situation, I start pushing my partner's hand behind their shoulder line, and I build up to my knees like so. If your partner pushes back into you, we're gonna make a switch and control our partner's second leg. Now my head comes in between our two legs, and I open my right knee to make space for my head to come in. Okay? So from this situation, as she goes to drive forwards, I open my right knee, and I get my head past my partner's knee line. And then from here, we can roll on through. Okay? I understand some of you aren't going to be doing this, but a lot of you will try it, so I wanted to put it in here. Okay? All I'm asking is not much. You just have to briefly be able to get yourself into a position where you're partially inverted. I'm not asking you to get your knees to the floor or anything like that. I'm just asking you to have one of your feet almost touching the ground. So if my partner's not with me, I'm only asking you guys to be here for a half a second. It's not that athletic of a movement. Okay? So when she's back on top of me now, it makes it easy for me to pendulum my partner forward. So we get to a situation like so. I'm playing with my partner. As she goes to come in and crush me and take my back and all those things, we just roll our partner through, and now we're on the offense. Conversely, this time, we move into a situation where I push into my partner, I spin the leg, and my partner stays where she is. Okay? Whenever I see this, I'm just going to look to start pushing back into my partner. Okay? I push back into my partner, and I make her sit down to a hip. Where now, I'm going to switch hands. My left hand comes through, and I just look to step the leg up, and just look to sit and position myself in a situation where I can move to cross ashi, or just simply come on top. It's another dilemma-based game. If your partner pushes into you, she goes onto an inversion and entrance into cross ashi. If she falls over to a hip, she just concedes a sweep. So we get into a scoop, cross lat, for a butterfly half guard. From the situation, she's trying to come in and crush me. We go far hip. We put her hand on the floor behind her shoulder line. So that now from here I can slide everything across like so, and we play. If your partner pushes into you, you invert. If your partner doesn't, I just look to sit my partner down to a hip, like so. Now the main danger is that I go to get up with this grip like so, and your partner inverts the knee, and now there's back exposure. She can come up and chase your back. So I push her to a hip, and I keep her leg wedged in place. So I have a wedge on top of the leg, and a wedge underneath the leg. When she goes to invert that knee and take my back from here, she can't. Only when I go to create an angle, where I need to alleviate pressure to move, can she take my back. So I take an outside scoop that blocks her knee from inverting. So now, as I go to make a move, I can release the wedges with my leg, which allow me to move around the body. But as she goes to invert her knee, again, I keep the knee inverted. And now from here, as I sit, I can gather the second leg, and we can go into attacks. Don't make the mistake, back up. Don't make the mistake of sitting onto your partner like so, and then from this situation, I come into a position where I have a right hand scoop, and as I go to make a transition, she inverts her knee, and now your back's exposed. I always start the right hand scoop from here, and then I move to a left hand scoop. So as she goes to invert that knee, it's a very difficult thing to do. These are the small details that are going to make a big difference between you getting your back taken and you getting a sweep from starting from butterfly half guard. Okay. So another series of dilemmas. You go into a scoop. Your partner, you go to spin this far leg. Your partner pushes into you. She comes onto a cross-ashi inversion. She moves away from you. She comes into a sweep where you can backstep and then go into more attacks.